day and welcome once again to What Makes a Leader podcast, where we have a conversation about leadership principles. And today we have my friend, David Stander. David is a field specialist, extension agent with Iowa State University. We've known each other for goodness, many years, and we've worked on a variety of projects from teaching PQA courses to developing leaders as we have done some leadership courses and such. Thank you, David. Thank you for being here and for agreeing to have this conversation.
Yes, no problem.
Tell us a little bit about David Stander. How has the path been to where when you started to where you are today? How would you?
Okay.
Yep.
A little bit of my life history, right? That just kind of
Yes.
grew up on a farm in western Iowa in the hills of Crawford County. I went to Denison High School, and we basically, my dad was a teacher full time, and we had 500 acres and 100 stock cows and 40 sows fair to finish on the side. And we did it the hard way with kind of more pitchfork and scoop shovel.
Okay.
With
sure.
small row equipment. And so in high school, I learned to work. I mean, we basically, we come home and we'd work till dark every night from school and get up in the morning and do chores and go to school and
Do it again.
Except that we are always allowed to do sports and participate in lots of school stuff. So FFA to my dad meant Father Farms Alone, so and so I basically
I never heard that, but would you say that again? That's FFA stands for,
according to my dad, he's heard it before, Father Farms Alone.
Okay.
And so but that wasn't really true. We would
Of course
still help.
not.
And even because farming was just kind of in my blood. And even going to school, I would on spring I would take Tuesday, Thursday classes so I could go home Friday and Monday, or get Friday afternoons off to go back to basically farm on the weekends. So the plan was to get the degree, never take away education, and get the degree and then farm, take over the family farm. Well, the 80s came. My dad bought a farm the wrong time. Interest went up to 15%, and
oh goodness.
And it was basically there was no room for somebody to come in and start farming in 1982 when I graduated with decided to do animal science. And when I graduated with my degree, there I sat with talking about goals and say, well, my primary goal isn't going to be able to, I'm not going to be able to do that right away. In the back of my mind, I said, well, I need to get a job first and then buy a farm and then start farming later. But and so an interesting turn, and it's and this wasn't a goal or anything. It was just one night with a buddy, and he says, have you heard about this easy class? It's a 1-credit class. All you have to do is go and do a meat judging contest. And I said, oh, okay, well, let's do that. And ended up did very well at that contest.
Okay.
And and the professor that put the contest on was a meat judging coach, and he offered me a scholarship into grad school.
Oh, nice.
And so the research project, he had 214 rib steaks that needed to be tasted.
How terrible, right?
Yeah, and being an Iowa farm boy,
Oh,
that sounded really good to me, and so
absolutely.
it really was good, and so I was on what they might call the Atkins diet. I've never been so thin in my life. I ate rib steaks for lunch and took some rib steaks home and had an extra rib steak for supper,
Yeah.
and it was all protein diet for like 2 years, and I was down to probably 5% body fat and never
Oh
been
my
in
goodness.
better shape in my whole life.
Yeah.
We had fun with
Yeah.
these.
The
My
message then, the message and it's eat meat. It's good for you.
Yes.
Of
So
course.
so that little decision in the college dorm to go to that little easy 1 credit class changed my whole direction of life, my
Okay.
career. So
Sure.
ended up with a master's, and I really did. If you want to talk about underlying goals, I really always wanted to be a livestock specialist. And at the time it was beef, beef and swine. Livestock specialists did that, and I saw some livestock specialists in work and doing that kind of thing, and so I applied right out of college, right, and it was in the farm crisis, and so there were 100 students and 60 jobs, when
Oh
I
my
was,
God. Yes. Yes.
when I graduated, and so it took the summer actually to find a couple open positions, and I actually accepted a position in meat science, and I was heading to Georgia. I bought a car, loaded the car, I accepted the job, and then a phone call came and said, uh, the job was been eliminated.
Oh,
And that was for 20
guess
some.
what, right?
Yeah, half. Thank you.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
went through
yeah.
all the interview and signed I don't know if we signed any papers or anything,
No.
but that job was eliminated. And then I had to scramble because I kind of lucky I had procrastinated on sending notice to all the other people I was interviewing with, and that happened on like a Thursday, and the call came in for being extension person, and I wasn't in the job that I wanted. My goal job was to be a livestock specialist, but they said you can't have that without experience. It says,
Oh,
well, how do I get
sure.
experience? Well, you can be a county agricultural person for a while, get some experience, and then you can reapply. So I said, oh, okay. And so my first job was in Guthrie Center, Iowa, in Guthrie
Okay.
County. And
Sure.
I did everything from bugs, plants to cattle and hogs. I focused on cattle and hogs because that's where I kind of like to do, but did everything and answered even the flower questions. I mean, you get pretty good at that actually. If the same problems come in, people overwater them or they underwater them, or
Sure,
or
sure,
there's
sure,
some
sure.
kind of disease or something. So you get good
Yeah,
at
yeah.
answering a whole variety of questions. And then in 1989, the job came open. It was my dream job in Northwest Iowa to be a livestock specialist, and I applied for that and got it, and have really enjoyed myself for the last 30 years up here, 35 years up doing this kind of work.
Well, it's actually 39 years. I was asking you prior to start recording that you've been at it for 39 years.
Yep,
That's a lifetime.
the first 4 years was general agriculture. I mean, I was an
Sure.
agriculturist in Guthrie
Okay.
County. Yep, but for a whole career at it, and it went fast. I mean, it's gone. Well, I think people that are our age, Orlando, can relate to that. How fast you
Oh
get
my
here.
goodness. Yes,
At the
it
stage
sure
of
does.
looking
Yeah.
at what you're going to do at this point in life.
Yeah.
So,
When we think of leadership and we think about leading people, how did you see your job in the beginning as far as were you thinking you were going to be leading producers towards a goal?
Yeah,
How did you work that in your mind?
I still remember the first few years. And when you're 20 something and you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with 50 something producers,
Mm-hmm.
there is, the core underlying thing that people want is respect. And so you have some knowledge as 20, but if you come across as, I still remember this, this is, you have to respect the people that have experience, and partner with them, come alongside of them. So it's a relationship and also the subject matter competence. And you show them, you help them a little bit with some things, but you do it in a way that doesn't step on their toes or try
Mm-hmm.
to, because all through career, change is hard for people, and
Mm.
you have to just kind of lead them to water and help them figure it out. You got to help them want to do it and figure it out themselves, and they actually take, if you kind of lay the groundwork, they actually take credit for that
Eh, eh,
knowledge that they've gained, and they
right,
actually, you think
yeah.
back and it's like, yeah, I said that about 2 weeks ago, and if they can take credit, it's a win-win. But I remember,
Absolutely.
from my perspective, I said, man, I wish I was a go-to person, and that was kind of my goal. I wish people would just come to me and ask for advice, but I realized that takes time, relationships, building trust, building your competence level, learning how to deal with people. So it doesn't come overnight, but I think the core of that leadership was already starting when I was in my 20s. I just kind of understood that people are important, and that people want respect and they deserve respect, regardless of their position in life.
In some of our courses, when we talk about leadership and we talk about people, we refer to it and we have a picture with a horse and a river, and then we go, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. And that's exactly what you're describing. And
Yes.
besides respect, what else help you to become the leader to in your job in Northwest Iowa? How do you influence change besides respect?
Well, one of the things that I've found over the years is really important, and I remember a workshop where you have a pile of sand and you have a pile of rocks, and you say you got to put it all into the jar. You got a big
Mm,
bucket, kind of a glass bucket. And if you put the sand in first, there's no way to put the rocks in. And so the rocks are the big things that are important to move your career along. And those are the things that you're good at. And
okay.
so you basically focus on the things that you really love to do, and if you love to do them, hopefully you're good at that, right?
Hmm.
I mean, and
Sure.
so you kind of find, that's what I really loved about extension job, is that you can kind of find your sweet spot of what you're good at, and put those rocks into the jar first. And and I think you had some, we're going to talk a little bit about what do you do with interruptions and daily routines and things. It's always, you want to put those rocks in first, and you know, the bigger picture things that you're good at. And so it, you know, it was you kind of design your career for the things that you love and that you're competent with. And so and then it just kind of, it all fits. Then you throw it,
Mhm.
you put those big rocks into the jar, and then the daily phone calls and the daily interruptions is like the sand, you just fill it in around the rocks. And so the other way around, if the sand and all the little things, the little routines of the day fill up first, and you got no place to put in your life direction goals, your bigger goals need to go
Mhm.
in. They need to always be the core of what you're doing first, and then get your job done later. And the key for me to leadership is making sure that those big rocks are things that you love to do, and that you're good at. And so one way you know that is, I like have never had a day where I get up and say, wow, I wish I didn't have to go to work today. I mean,
Yeah.
there's bad
Yeah.
days, right?
y-
There's icky things to do sometimes, but in general, what I'm doing
Yeah.
is what I want to do. And it's kind of found the sweet spot, and those rocks are in the jar,
Yeah.
and off and running, and 40 years goes by just like that. And they're 40 good years when you put things in perspective, like, and get the big things in line, you're doing what you really want to do every day.
So deciding what it is that you want to do, deciding that purpose will actually lead you in that direction.
Yeah.
You mentioned a daily routine. What kind of a routine does David Stander have these days to ensure that you meet those goals that you've developed for yourself?
Well,
Describe for us your daily routine.
yeah, and in extension, it's a balance. It's it's a okay, today these are the two rocks I'm going to put in to my my bucket today. But in extension, you have to be available for people. And so phone
Mhm.
calls come, and people walk in the office, and there's a relationship to competence. Both are required in extension. And so you need to be available for people. You need to be flexible. So it's a learning how to have a flexible schedule with the core rocks, your core values still moving ahead every day. And so it's the routine isn't so much the thing for me, but it's the foundation of, I am here to help people. My job is, and that's why I like my job so much. My job is to help people make better decisions. And so even if I'm interrupted, I'm still on my task, on my goal. And so it's really that's why it fits so well for me.
That's what guides you, right? Helping people make better decisions.
Yes. And it just,
Yeah.
and the purpose and the satisfaction that you can get out of that is one of those big rocks for me.
Yeah. Can you think of an example of throughout your career where you felt really, really good about influence someone to make a positive change? What comes to mind?
There, there's a there was a pretty dramatic one early in my career. I remember in the farm crisis, we were doing
Mm.
like long range budgets, and I became a long range budget specialist. And so what we do is at that time, it's not working. Scenario one was not working, and so this would be on computer. we could say, okay, what if you got a part-time job and sold some cows and added some more pigs? That's scenario 2. What if you rented some more land? You know, is scenario 3. And so I remember I worked on that kind of thing with dozens of people in the 80s. And you know, and that's where you kind of learn about the big picture. People matter, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
respect for people, even when they're financially failing, you have to find some way to respect what they've done with their career, with their life. And
Hmm.
you just you coach them that this is just a hiccup, right? And we can get through this. We can, you know, there's other things you could do at the, you know, at the best case scenario, worst case scenario. So you're throwing your life into trying to help these people. Well, this was this happened. It was probably about 5 years later that this I didn't even remember who it was,
Hmm.
but they come up to me and says, "I'm still farming because of you."
Oh my.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing. And it's like, yeah,
It-
and to have somebody actually come back and thank you for you know, putting out the scenarios, working with the bank, saying, hey, if we do
yeah.
this and this and
Yeah.
this, it's going to work out better. And so, you know, that's those kinds of situations are very memorable. It's just like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
If I were to ask you to fill in the blank of this statement, what word, what verb would you put in that blank? And to be a leader is to blank. So to
And,
be a leader is to,
and you're thinking about one word,
yes.
I would say influence. And so a leader, what you there's people that want to be leaders, and that then there's people that are leaders, and what you find is all of a sudden you're looking behind you and people are following you.
Mhm.
They're listening to what you're saying. They're thinking about the kinds of advice you're giving them, and they're appreciative, like the guy that came back and said. And that is built over time. It's with respect, it's with trust, it's with relationships. And so you're looking back, and people are following. And so you know, if you want to be a leader, uh it's not all pro. There you need to actually weigh the cost, because it can be lonely at you know,
They say it's
especially.
lonely at the top.
They say that, and I think that can be true. And so that not everybody's going to be a leader, and
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
some ways we all have to be in a small way, right? We all have to
Mhm.
learn how to be a leader in families and relationships. You know, everybody has to do it a little bit, but if you want to do it a lot, there's you have to count the cost, and you have to be able to step up when nobody else will, and do the
Yes.
uncomfortable things. And
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
have to be able to say, yes, I can do that. I mean, nobody else really wants to do that, and but I'll do that. I mean, just because that's part of leadership, that's part of getting people to follow you, is doing the jobs really nobody else really wants to do. And you just go ahead and do it, and you say, you know, this is just part of the I mean, it's a con with leadership, but it's part of the pro as well. I mean, there's definitely pros to being a leader, right? And in my
Mhm.
opinion, they outweigh the cons. But and so you go up, you step up when nobody else does. And a leader also, in my opinion, uh, sees things that other people. You start thinking about seeing things through other people's eyes, and you see things that need to happen before they're needed. If you kind of get my drift, it's like you can kind of sense
Yeah.
that wow, people are going to need this kind of help.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when audits, well, they were talking about the audits, right? For welfare audits on farms, when the Packers were just talking about it. Um,
Yes.
that's one of the things that I'm kind of like, it just fell into place. I said, wow, people are going to need help organizing their thoughts and their records for these audits. And so before anybody else in the industry started putting anything together, I started putting together a notebook with indexes on the 29 different things that you needed to have records on, so that you could have it all in a notebook and have it all organized, so that when the audit came, they'd ask you for your certificate of PQA, they'd ask you for your SOP on treatment. They were all in a tab, all in the same notebook. And so instead of taking a half a day for the audit, it takes, a couple hours, because you have all the information there at your fingertips. And we did the workshops, and they went, and it was helpful to the industry to
Yeah.
be able to organize and get ready for these welfare audits that the Packers are doing. And now it's kind of second nature for producers to be ready for those.
You have to be visionary. You have to have a vision of what it can be or what it could be. You have to dream to
Yeah,
be a leader.
they term that
Or
as shooting in front of the duck, right? You assume you got to see where it's going
yeah,
first, and
yeah,
then you're out there, and you taking you're kind of innovative, maybe. I mean, but you see what needs to be done before it needs to be done, and you
Yeah.
take initiative.
Very good. Do you hear that? These are my cats. They're actually playing with each other, and do you hear that? That's kind of weird.
Oh, they're
But,
pretty. That's not going to bother too much. It's in the background.
I have a couple of last questions, David, and very much appreciate you sharing with us your thoughts on on leadership. What would you suggest to an individual that would be getting started on the path of becoming a leader? And what sort of tips, what sort of suggestions would you have for someone that is on that path?
Yeah, we've been talking about, these kinds of things, but yeah, find your strengths, find what you love to do, find what you're good at doing. Hopefully they're the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If you love to do it and you're good at it, you're going to excel at it. And focus on those things. Find a job, find a career where you can focus on the things that you love, the things that you like to do, and then put those rocks in the jar first, right? And so where do you want to be 10 years from now? Have those in Orlando. I've just been through your leadership conference and or leadership workshops to put those somehow. I mean, if you need to put them in writing every day, do that. And you
Mm-hmm.
suggest that, but some people, I mean, with me, it's ingrained in my head every day, right?
Yep,
But
yep.
it has to be some kind of a process where you say, this is where I want to be. And so you take your talent, right, and your passion, and you find the place where you can best use that, and
Mm-hmm.
then you put and then you focus on that, and you try to make sure that that the best you is out there doing. When you match up your talents and your passion together, right, then it's not hard to excel, right? It shouldn't be a real challenge. It never was for me.
Mm-hmm.
It should just kind of fall in place. And while you're doing that, you need to, we haven't talked much about balance, but you need to not be just consumed in your job. You need to have, you get to the end 40 years later, and you start retiring. What's important? Well, it's not, well, I wish I'd have
It-
spent another 4 hours in the office on Saturdays or some kind of thing. You don't think back and say, wow, I wish I'd have worked harder. No,
sure,
it's
sure,
about,
sure.
maintaining your relationships with family, with
Mhm.
friends, and balance your life with the things that you like to do. You don't want to consume yourself with your career either. And so that's just kind of a nutshell. Orlando is try to find your passion, try to put that passion into a career that fits your passion and your competence. And then once you do that, you do really, really well on the things that you can do really, really well. And people
Mhm.
notice that.
Yeah,
And if you don't do so well in the rest of the stuff,
yeah.
that people don't notice, as long as you're doing
It's not.
really, really
Yeah,
well in what you have a
yeah.
passion to do, and if it fits your career. And at the same time, don't let your career uh,
Run
your
everything else
life,
on your
right?
life. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
you're in charge of your time, and make sure it's not all about career. Make sure it's also about family and friends, and exploring hobbies and other things. Because you get to this point in life, you need to have something other than a career, because you're not going to be able to do your career forever. You need to have something other than a career to drive you and
That
give
would,
you
yeah,
purpose in life.
yeah. David, what makes a leader?
Yeah, it's as you put all these things together, it's somebody that raises up um beyond what other people are willing to do. And the people see that, and then they, like I said, they want to follow, or you can influence those
Mhm.
people, and they kind of want to follow you. And that's my mind, what's the bottom line of a leader.
Okay, okay, excellent. Very much appreciate your time, and I know you're a very busy individual, and that's actually something that I would like to find out for myself. You have family, you run a business, you have so many responsibilities there, and you even golf, right? How do you manage it all? How do you fit it into your day?
And there was a time when, in extension, the work's never done, right? Never ever. And there's people that spend 80 hours a week, you know,
Mm,
answering doing this and that, and trying to do another thing. And so, I ironically, interestingly enough, and I don't think 40 hours a week on salary was enough in extension, but I wouldn't go over 50. Say, you got me for 50 hours, and when you have me, I want those hours to be as productive as I can. And I
your
want to focus on the big things. And
focus.
I want to do some, and there are times when there's things that fall, the sand kind of things I don't get done.
Mhm.
They're just saying, I don't let that worry me, because I have to balance my life. I My wife has always said that you cut off. I never brought work home. Um, Rarely. I shouldn't say never, right? But the weekends were for the weekends, and
Yeah,
for doing the things that I like to do. And so yeah, part of my life, what I define as leadership, is being able to get the job done in the hours that you're allotted to do it, and then to shut that off, and renew your mind, and and be able to do other things on the times when you're not required to be at work.
And focus on the task at hand, whatever that might be, or the responsibility that you would have at
Yeah,
hand.
like I said, those the important things, the things that are going to make a difference in people's lives, to get those things done. Make sure that that
Mhm.
happens no matter what. And the things that you have a passion with, if like I said, if you can align that with the things that you have a passion about, then it just kind of happens, right? The big
Yeah.
rocks, they just are there, and you're going to be able to move forward doing those things. So thank you.
David, thank you for the opportunity to listen to your thoughts and have this conversation. We say that these conversations are with ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And I do believe, from what I have learned from you, from our friendship, that you're doing extraordinary things when it comes to promoting agriculture and promoting animal welfare and promoting that trust that we want to develop with our consumers. So thank you. Thank you for your leadership. This is Orlando Gill with TCTS Global, where we develop talent. We will have a slide in front and in back of the podcast with David's contact information. If you would like to reach out to him, he's on LinkedIn, he's on some of the social media, and his Iowa State University extension agent. Thank you for tuning in. This is TCTS Global, where we develop talent. Thank you, sir. I'm gonna turn this off.